This is Ion, and we have our lovely assistant and good friend Christina with us. She's going to help us with the chat. So, if you guys want to join us in the chat asking questions, then she'll help monitor that and make sure that we highlight your good questions and comments. And today we're just opening up the very beginning of where we come from, how we're put together. So, I will let Ion take it from here.
Okay. Um, Thank you for participating. Thank you so much. You're looking, both of you are really pretty today.
Thank you.
I'm a lucky man. Uh, the most important thing I want to emphasize today is the Akashic thought. I hope I can
Speak up.
speak up a little bit. Yeah, I was told to speak up a little bit. The Akashic thought um, is a pure thought. Usually, thoughts carry information, and but the Akashic thought is a pure thought that carry one information. That's the information that the Akashic thought carrying is called joy. We're going to talk about the Akasha the next time, but for right now, I would like to talk about the thought is what you would turn to be into the soul. So, as a nucleus of our soul is a thought coming from Akasha, is going through friction into the cosmos, and that friction, uh, uh, um, the friction forms a membrane around. It forms a membrane around that thought, which is full of joy. Is one information in it, and then it will be from period after a period of time will turn into a human soul. It has some travel to do. It will be a human soul, or it could be any other component of this entire cosmos or this entire universe. We're going to talk about cosmos and universe and the galaxy and our solar system and our planet, of course. How the soul, how a human soul traveled through it to come over to this planet and incarnate, not reincarnate, but incarnate into building a body and everything. But the most important thing is start at the beginning. Like the Bible will say, at the beginning, a thought travel from Akasha, a beautiful place, into the cosmos, creates friction, it forms a membrane around it, and then will turn into a human soul. It could turn into the spirit, it could turn in free will, into a sound civilization, part of it, a light civilization. Uh, if it can go as just a joyful thought, it could go at the source and will stay together with the other souls over there, which is gazillion of souls that forms our universe source. And we're going to talk about the universe, how the source form our universe, and everything. Now, if any questions about this thought is not a dark matter and is any kind of matter is not part of either ether is not part of anything so small is smaller than a string. If anybody's familiar with the string theory, which is is the nucleus of a subatomic subatomic particle. So is very very tiny. I couldn't find anything that looks like that to an image to even portray as how tiny is uh, uh,
Yeah, I mean,
this thought.
we've talked about the soul's like a drop of water or as unique as a snowflake, but it's so tiny that it's just this little piece that's lives behind our heart.
Yeah, a grain of sand is probably 1,000, maybe 1,000,000 times bigger than this thought we're talking about. So if you can imagine how microscopical it is, and it's so powerful, it's really powerful. We go travel to the universe and pick up lots of elements, so you become a human in the end. But the first the first encounter before you become a soul or anything else, a free will or a spirit or anything, a first encounter is going through a friction between Akasha and the cosmos. So because of that friction, and obviously from the friction it creates some pressure, it will form a membrane, a very permeable membrane that covers the whole thought. Um, yeah, do you want to add anything? Do you have any questions, Christina?
I'm just listening right now.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions at the moment now.
Okay, then to go even further, we're going to explain the process when the thought is going to turn into a human soul. So we're not talking here about any kind of other soul. Like everything is made out of soul, out of souls, out of thoughts, obviously. So because the soul is made out of thought, but we're talking here about the human soul. Why the soul is called a soul is because the, from traveling this thought that I was talking about to the membrane around, it will travel through the universe and will pick up certain amount of elements. If you can visualize or imagine in traveling over millions of Earth years through the universe and picking up the best elements that the universe have to offer, other thoughts obviously, but they're turning to be elements. One of the most important element that these let's call this thought that we travel with, we're going to be together with his journey, let's call him Joy. So Joy is traveling this entire universe to pick up so many elements to become a human soul. And and the first most important element he has to pick up is the element of honesty. Honesty, because honesty will give it an acceptance. The second this thought, Joy, will pick up the element of honesty and it will accept itself as a pure thought, then that thought turns into the absolute truth. It has this element that will be able to decipher and discern all other things around the universe that they are not true compared to itself. So honesty is so important to this soul. Now his name is Joy, and it's so important because is becoming an absolute truth. He only accepts what's the best source for it. And therefore, together, they're looking for the second element. The absolute truth right now that this Joy thought turned into, and its own companion, a little companion, uh, the element of honesty, they're a little aggressive. They're together, they're feeling good about themselves, and they're a little aggressive. So what they're looking for is to temper that aggression, and therefore they're looking for the next element, which is called patience. Patience generates tolerance. Without tolerance, our little Joy soul now is forming into a soul. Without tolerance, uh, there is no way can be picking up any other elements that needed to turn into a mature soul. Uh, because honesty, this element, is not accepting anything. It's very rigid. It's very angry and very aggressive towards anything. Wants the best, the perfection, and you have to be a little bit flexible to be able to compromise to pick up certain things.
Yeah.
So tolerance will just have that diplomatic conversation between honesty and patience to be able to tolerate a little bit other elements that needed to become a human soul. Now, at this point, it is the greater turning from our thought, which is right now becoming a true absolute truth. Our little joy is an absolute truth because it has the elements of honesty and patience and is looking for a greater guidance. Uh, this guide that they're looking for is has a structure, a very diamond-like structure, and we call it a free will. Once they find this piece of free will throughout the universe, they together, the four elements plus our joy, the absolute truth, and this free will guidance, we can call it a soul. The free will guidance will not be attached to the soul like the other two elements, honesty and patience. The free will guidance will be like the moon around the earth. And, and that's guiding through it, rotating, making sure everything is is according to a greater fate. F-A-T-E.
It's our soul satellite.
It's our soul satellite, is our higher self, is our whatever you wanted to call it, and but it's not a spirit. A spirit has its own. A spirit has its own uh, pure thought. It's joy, joy second.
So,
So
so basically, the soul has the free will as a soul satellite, and then it builds the body. But it also, once it has the body, will have the spirit give it life. Um,
and the spirit also is turning into a duality because you were born. But
yeah, we'll
let's
get
not
more into
get
that one later.
yeah.
But just for just to not confuse anybody, but
Yeah.
so and then also after the spirit has given life, then we have the emotions.
No, the emotions goes inside the body, right in there through the glands and everything. We're getting the emotions,
Right.
stabilize emotion into the table. But we're gonna go when we're talking about the body.
Right, and then I'm
Yeah,
just giving the hierarchy of how it's put together
yeah,
because
yeah.
you're kind of going off
Yeah. It's the,
side roads.
I'm going to the formation of this beautiful thought that becomes a soul that picks up a free will.
Yeah,
That's all I wanted to
I
stay
understand.
with,
Yeah,
the thought. And from there, the journey goes on because they have to get to the source. To become a human, you have to go to the source and pick up the two most important elements. But until then, you still have to pick up other elements, the elements of awareness, which with the help of free will now, you have element of awareness uh, that generates ethics and
consideration.
consideration. It's a universal law about consideration. You have to consider everything in the universe. You can't just be rude. You can be rude in the universe. I'm not even talking about our galaxy yet. We're just staying in the universe, in the cosmos. The universe is in the cosmos, but obviously the soul is picking up those elements from our universe once it gets into the universe, not in the cosmos. And you can be rude or you can be lazy in the universe. Those are very important a loss of this universe.
And fairness is pretty big.
Fairness is coming from it. I mean, you have to be fair in order to not be rude or lazy.
Yeah.
So the universe will destroy you, will absolutely disseminate you if you're lazy, because it's a moving organism. They're moving parts. Even the smallest parts of the universe, which are the bosons or dark matter or ether, those are still moving. So you cannot stay in a way because they roll you over. That's the soul. So you have to pick up the third element, awareness, to be aware of these moving parts. Everything is going really fast within an ethical, with principles and all kinds of stuff like consideration to actually move on, going towards the source of all, the creation of all, the creator of all. And everybody, all the souls that went through this process wants to get there, whether they stay there or pick up humankind or even celestials that I'm not aware of, celestial parts of the soul that I'm not aware of. Maybe the celestials have more elements to the soul than we do, but I'm aware of the human soul. The animals doesn't have forgiveness and compassion, so they're animals. They're having the humbleness part of it that creates generates humility and packing order, herd mentality, and banks mentality. But I have to speak louder. Yeah, that's pretty much the introduction to the soul, where the soul comes from, and it's coming from a pure thought that forms a membrane in the cosmos that gets structure in harder structure in our universe. Wants to get from the cosmos into the universe, it gets a harder structure. It picks up the first main element, honesty. Then it picks up patience to tolerate other things, including the free will. And then it picks up the free will, a greater guide for the human soul. Then it picks up awareness, kind of, let's see where we're going. And after it picks up awareness that generates ethics and consideration, I will pick up generosity. Generosity is what the whole entire universe currency is admiration. So generosity is generating altruism.
And what is altruism?
Altruism is the currency of altruism is actually admiration, because it's a selfishness way of doing things with no expectation.
And unselfish. Yeah. It's basically the way I like to explain it is a service to others for their best well being, without expecting anything in return. It's a wholehearted giving of yourself or time or your effort for someone without any expectations.
And
Yes.
although we may not have expectations, we still benefit from it in some way. So, how can we do service to others without benefit to ourselves? Because isn't
Well,
that
yeah, you
that's
do
a
get
little
something back. Yeah, you do get something back, but you can't expect it from that other person. You
right?
get it back in a spiritual currency. Go ahead.
There are two ways to answer to your question. There are two main things. First of all, uh, expectation is not something that the universe is aware of.
Hmm.
Okay, we're talking about the soul. Expectation is coming from the mind nucleus, which is hope, which is a very important component of the mind. We're going to talk about it when we get the mind.
Hmm.
But it's hope, expectation, planning, and ultimately is suffering regardless if you accomplish your plans or not. You're still going to go to another. You Anyway, Hope is what gives you expectation, not the soul.
Yeah.
And altruism within the universe, it doesn't even understand expectation, if you know what I mean. It will just do it because he has to do it through the awareness of consideration. To be kind of like to be polite, to better understand. And in exchange for that, you will get admiration. But you're not expecting that, but you will get admiration. Admiration is a spiritual currency, is infused. Admiration is infused in the whole entire universe. As the way it works, the universe and the celestial beings, their currency, their money, their currency is admiration. The more they admire each other, that's how they feel each other and their well-being to grow and appreciate themselves. And
Would you describe that as like the opposite of what people would call louche?
yeah, that is the opposite of what people would call lush. Yes, it is the opposite because admiration it comes from a beauty,
Yeah.
from a wonder,
From a
from
pure,
art.
it's a pure place, not.
It's a pure place. It's not. It has nothing to do with energy, emotion, which is emotion. We're talking about emotions in details, uh,
Yeah, later.
and Lush has a lot to do with this emotion than what admiration has to do with beauty of with light, with the
So
sound of a song, or the sound of a well into the ocean, that the harmony of it, that's that's what admiration is, to harmonize beauty of the whole entire universe with such a mathematical precision. It's admirable.
you said that the soul, it all comes from the Akasha, which is in the cosmos. So, what is the cosmos compared to the universe, compared to the galaxies, compared to where is it?
Okay.
Or
It
what
is
is
a
it?
place, it is a, okay, got you. It is a place, Akasha. It's vast. Nobody being beyond Akasha. And there's no celestial being on this universe that went beyond Akasha. They didn't even go beyond our universe. They couldn't even go to the other universe. It's too much friction. Do I speak loud enough?
You're
Yes,
up and down, but
I
yeah,
can hear you.
good.
Uh, okay, this place, Akasha, is full of those thoughts that I call it joy.
Hmm.
Those thoughts has one information on it. Once they travel through the universe, they can gather more information. We're talking about information dissemination by our organs. But in Akasha, there are like gazillions of this. Is made out of these thoughts. Those thoughts full of joy. That's where the joy is is like their permanent home.
It's the joyful place.
Yeah. And within Akasha, they're like these points, like little dots. We call it cosmos. Um, I will explain that later when we get to Akasha, because it's like a cemetery of those joy thoughts. I'll explain it later.
Okay.
And that's why it's like dark. It's a dark dot. They're like seven dots, like the cemetery of those old thoughts. They're like just formed there. They stay there. There is no joy. There is no. Uh, it's what we call an ether. It's just 0 point. And there are
It's not
like
considered a
seven
void,
of them.
is it?
Yeah, they're
Really?
they're like. I'm sorry.
I said it's not considered a void, is it?
No, it's not considered a void because it is made out of thoughts, like
Okay.
that. Those joyful thoughts from Akasha form that cemetery. Is my best explanation I can I can
Okay.
explain it more than that. It turns dark. There's 7 dark points. There's 7 dark points inside this immense Akasha place, which is the color is like whitish, bluish, silver, the color of this place, and is full of joy, like gazillions of joy thoughts. And there are uh, two laws are serendipity and synchronicity. But we're talking about that a little when we're gonna get to Akasha in our later episode, because well, I can say right now that synchronicity is part of some sort of a space and time, and serendipity is space, time, and luck. So there where the luck lies, there where the joy lies, and from there it forms this seven so-called symmetry for them. We call it the cosmos, the the complete darkness of everything. There is no stars, no nothing. But the thoughts traveling from Akasha, from this place, if you can imagine. Can you visualize that, Christina? This
Well,
silverish white
yeah.
place, and
As soon as you
inside of
said
that,
that, I started seeing. I see whatever people describe.
okay,
I literally go there and just start seeing it. So yeah, I saw it.
perfect. And inside of that space, the silverish white space, there is
Mhm.
a dot, a big dot, like a black dot.
Mhm.
Okay, so can you imagine now from this silver place inside the black dot is one thought, pure thought of joy going right in. Can
Wow.
you see that?
Mhm.
That creates friction. That's a friction
Crazy.
in between the two matters. Okay, that friction plus pressure, it forms around that thought. If it survives, it forms around that thought. It forms a membrane, a permeable membrane, and that will turn into a a thought, turn into a some sort of a soul, not yet formed, that picks up honesty, that generates acceptance, picks up patience, that generates tolerance, and together will pick up the satellite, which we call it a free will, the satellites that goes around this joy thought. And now, once the satellites are picked up, the free will is called a soul. It's a rudimentary as it is. It might be just honesty and patience, those two elements, it forms grass, or
It
it
is a good
forms,
question.
but it doesn't form molecules. It doesn't form, just that thought, it could form water. Doesn't need to pick up honesty. It could form some sort of a chemical. It could form some sort of a, it definitely forms carbon that free will is made of. Free will is made of lots of things, but carbon is like a diamond and is very strong in your opinion, very strong in his decisions, because we're going to learn about free will. His nucleus is in the
Intention.
intention. Yeah. The intention is the nucleus of a free will. There's so many, so there's 63 elements and components of all what we're talking about here. And once the free will go around like a moon around the earth, it's like the same cycles. You becoming that becoming a soul. Now the soul is picking up awareness for seeing better, we're understanding better the ethics, what the regulations and the rules and the laws in the universe are. Is picking up. The soul is picking up the generosity, to have the currency to feed itself, to be able to feed itself. You know, that's their food, admiration. There's the currency of that generosity is admiration. And it has to be altruistic and give up something and pick up something. And then the next the next element the soul picks up to the journey to the source, the creator of all, is going to pick up consciousness. Consciousness creates life. It generates life. It needs a little help to generate the life of anything. It needs a spirit breath to anything. What is a ray, some sort of gamma from solar or something, or it's just a breath like a hydrogen or oxygen breath from other spirits, but it needs that reaction to create life. It cannot create life by itself, and that's called consciousness. It has nothing to do with conscience, which we're gonna learn it is in the ego part of psyche or logical thinking, or the consciousness is something that you make sense of things. You just you're just making sense of things. That's conscious.
Right.
Consciousness is not 3D, is not 5D, is not, it only generates life in a body for as long as it's being activated. It needs, if you hold your breath, you will stop that activation, the nuclear power activation to create a life. So it will stop. So therefore you suffocate or whatever it happens. That's, so consciousness creates life, the living part of us, the prana or the chi or the vita or the uh, whatever we wanted to call it. We call it in English life, right? So that's what it is. So that's the fifth element that the soul picks up, and it is in this order.
Mhm.
The sixth element that will pick it up before we get to the source of all, the creation of all, is humbleness. Humbleness is generates humility. All living animals has it. Some some plants might have this humbleness into their souls. Some might not. It depends how they're. It's hard to say.
I'm
I
gonna,
don't know everything,
I'm gonna say kudzu doesn't have humility.
Who?
Kudzu, it grows everywhere.
He grows up. He has no consideration
Yeah, no.
for.
I'm just being funny, but
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. I don't know if the plants might have humility or not,
yeah,
because they're striving for light. So,
we're supposed to
but
stay on humans
but
anyway.
animals do have humility. Fish, everything that is herd or banks or of
Flocks,
flocks or anything that goes on this uh,
a hive.
hive, they must have humility. They stick together within some
Right.
sort of a pecking order through
Bees.
humility. They feel it, they understand each other, this humbleness and humility to know the pecking order, to know which one is the greater, which one is the king, which was the queen, which was, they just, we know that too. We have that too.
Yeah.
We immediately understand in a social interaction which one is a greater man, especially with the intuition that the women have. It's amazing. Women has a 28 times more intuition than men. And I'm not saying, I'm not telling you how the number is, but it has something to do with the genitals. 80,000 nerves around it, and the male genitals only 33,000. So the difference is 28,000 percent. So the women intuition is absolutely amazing. That that they feel the room, and we understand which one is so-called alpha man, or they go through it. Sometimes they kind of let their guards down and their shields down because their emotion gets involved, their other things gets involved that whatever the desires and temptations and all that stuff gets involved into their intuition. So they let their guard down and they can't read the room as good. But if you go neutral, you will understand every single person in that room which one it is just by feeling. And
Yeah.
you know this guy is trustworthy, this guy is not trustworthy, or this woman is a gossiper, this woman is she's a I'm not I don't know, maybe children is gonna listen, but anyway,
Maybe.
so I'm not gonna say that. But that's you read the rooms, so to speak. And women has a greater understanding of reading the room than men.
And
So
for
that
some of us, it shows up in our dreams.
Yeah.
well, that's a whole complete another thing. That's a mind thing that travels all over the place and brings you some sort of a premonition.
It's okay, you're not listening into your intuition, so here you go. While you're
There we
sleeping.
go.
So,
Providence. I told you so. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So the human elements to the soul.
So going back to the human elements, thank you, babe.
You're welcome.
Uh, Now we're getting to the last two human animals that we pick it up in the universe.
hmm
And we go into the source to pick them up,
okay.
which is for human only, not animals, not plants, not fish, not whatever, humans only, which is forgiveness first. We'll pick it up an entire thing of the whole entire element, forgiveness. Forgiveness generates forgiveness generates sympathy. I can sympathize with somebody. No animal can do that, even though we think they may because we try to humanize them, but it
Yeah.
can't. Uh, Sympathy is the understanding of the feeling of others. You do not know, you cannot yet put in their shoes to feel what they feel, only understand. You sympathize with them. You
hmm
understand what they go through.
Right.
Vaguely understand what kind of pain they have. You might feel a little bit of their pain, but not much. You barely
Right.
understand what they're going, and you sympathize with them. And that's what forgiveness does. You forgive yourself is great because you sympathize with your own understanding of your own feelings and cleans it up when you forgive yourself. So before you start forgiving somebody else, just forgive yourself because you clean that gonka out.
Well, and forgiveness is for you. It's not for the other person. It's
It
for
is for
you
both.
to release it, like, because it was never yours to hold on to, you know?
It is for both because the other person is gonna feel like a burden is being taken out of their shoulder when you tell them I'm sorry or please forgive me. It's
Yeah, but
like,
you have some out there who don't who it doesn't even
oh
bother
no,
them who did it or
I'm not
said
talking
it.
about any other people, Christina. I'm
Yeah,
not talking about anybody else. Everybody else,
right.
they feel the same way, just don't want to recognize it.
Maybe
Gotcha.
they're not being honest with
That's
themselves.
exactly what it
True.
is.
Very
They
true.
ju- their ego will not allow them to recognize that because they feel like their reputations is lowering.
Right.
Their righteousness. Yes, I'm right.
Pride.
That's it's just that pride that
hmm
which is absolutely awesome. Just use it right.
Right.
Use your pride in a right way, in a
Exactly.
virtue way, because virtue is the nucleus of the ego. But going back to the soul,
Hmm.
okay. After we pick up the forgiveness part,
hmm
we're getting to the very fragile part element that human has. Only human have it. Forgiveness is human only, and compassion human only.
hmm
Compassion generates empathy. That's why they call themselves empaths. It's highly compassionate. Empathy, the definition of empathy is the feeling of the other person's feeling. Like you feel their pain, literally. Like you
Literally.
feel, you're empathic. You feel literally what they're feeling.
hmm
And that's very profound.
Yes.
You feel what they're going through.
Painful sometimes.
It's very, oh, highly painful. I know that
Yes.
It
We
can
don't
also
want
work on the
it.
joy side.
Yeah.
from my experience. You can't get any joy. This is very dense. It's very dense.
Yeah.
This feeling I know from my experience is very painful, and it's just compassion, but it's also yeah a gratitude opener. It always a compassion. It could be like feeling the grace of others too,
Yeah.
which is like liberating kind of thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, most of the time, lots of suffering on this earth, a lot of suffering.
Very,
And
very much so.
anyway, but this element is very fragile, and it might not be taking the whole thing. The soul is like a little bit in a hurry. The tolerance runs out after millions of earth years. The everything is kind of like come on, might not pick at the whole thing, and therefore we end up with sociopaths, psychopaths, killers of how you call it, serial killers. They're just great people. I mean, very smart people. Some of them, lawyers and doctors, and even the priests or something. I'm sorry, guys, but you did some children. You didn't feel their pain.
Yeah, right?
So yeah, they don't have the compassion. They're just going with their title and they can't feel. I mean, they're smart enough, but it's like, and you can tell from when they were children, they're like enjoying killing cats and dogs
Hmm.
and make a ritual out of it, or
Yep.
hoping to plan and expect certain things of it. And it's like, to me, it's like, well, to majority of people, I'm assuming, it's like, whoa, what you doing, man? But they are becoming serial killers. They are becoming the masons of the people of the world. How you call that serial killer? Ted Bundy kind of
Yeah.
person. Ted Bundy was he represented himself. He was a lawyer, but he was a killer. I mean, he was that smart
Well, I
and very
mean,
There was
charismatic.
a Zodiac killer in California too.
Well, that's no, that's they never called the Zodiac killer, but
Oh, I
yeah,
thought they did.
that's no, they didn't. They assumed it was in Boston, but no, they didn't catch him. And there are lots of copycats right now. So it is. Well, I'm not talking about these people.
but the compassion, like if you don't have compassion, it's so much easier for you to do something towards someone else that hurts them because you can't feel or have any remorse for any of those things that you've done to them. So,
That's
So
where it
does
comes.
that mean? So does that mean that somewhere in the soul it got disconnected, or did the human itself disconnect it?
No,
it may have never picked it up to begin with.
I just said
That's
it.
what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah.
is
Didn't
that
pick up the whole form.
Like maybe they got forgiveness or only a part of forgiveness and they didn't get any
so
compassion,
it's
or
in
maybe
the
they got
DNA? It's in the it's literally in the DNA and the genetics. That is crazy, mind blown right now. Like, I literally have chills going down my arms. I figured out a part. I understand some of it now. Yay! So it is.
Yeah,
Because everyone keeps saying it's part of the genetics. It's part of the DNA. It's like, nah, it's
yeah,
not. And
it's
okay,
exactly
now
where it
I
comes from.
understand. Yes, it is. Thank you. I appreciate that.
The genetics, our DNA is the double helix, so it might have some other energy to it, including emotion, including AKP. Now that's the second part of the soul, but we're not gonna talk about the second part of the soul.
yeah, we'll
The
do the second layer next week so that we have enough time to really go into those in a little more detail because they're all super important. And the whole thing is this whole outline of the soul is if we can live by these elements and like really understanding them, it makes life so much easier to navigate. um, and we're speaking from experience because I mean, everyone can feel these things. It's like, oh yeah, I know what that is, or I feel this, or whatever. But to put it into a structure of like, oh wow, okay, so if I follow this list, and then you're constantly growing on top of that because you're constantly finding new ways that these elements work with something else and they intertwine with each other, and it's all connected, but it's just amazing to keep growing as we keep going.
I-
Learning more and more about ourselves as we go. I mean, it's a never ending process, you know, it's not like somebody's got all the answers and we're going to show you exactly how to do it in this step by step process. No, you got to, it's an inside job. You got to do this for yourself, but at the same time, you know, we can guide you in a way of what we have already,
we can give a guide much, but we can give the tools.
yeah.
And what tools exactly tools? Like you pick up a hammer, and they they look at the hammer and it's like, what am I going to do with that? And I'll say, just hit the nail. So that's the guide that I can get you through.
The
You,
rest is up to
yeah, it's up to you to not hit
Plant
your
the
actual
seed.
nail. Yeah, it's up to you to not hurt yourself or not. But yeah, like you pick up a mouse and you like you put the mouse on your, it's like using it
as a phone.
as a phone. It doesn't work that way, because the mouse is not the phone.
People have tried
Right.
this.
I, that's where I picked it up. So they, it's like that's the soul. Honesty is not a cup of tea. It is a whole is the soul honesty. So
Well, it's
we give
like
you the tools,
mhm,
how to use them, and then you can harm yourself or take advantage of it.
in a good way.
You the only way you we kind of we as a civilization of human civilization, we kind of put it down a little bit, kind of put it behind us, is because if we use this honesty and patience and awareness and compassion and forgiveness and humility, it kind of denigrates us. It kind of leaves us so-called emotionally naked.
And we
And
can't get away with things.
yeah, and you don't want to be taken advantage of
Right.
because you are completely emotionally naked into the society. So you kind of want to
Vulnerable
protect yourself.
vulnerability is not humanity's strong suit. It's
Exactly, but it should be. It
it
should be.
could be. Yeah, I completely agree with you, but it is not easy to be vulnerable. It's even something that I'm having to learn, being vulnerable and allowing myself to do that, and it's not easy, but we got to learn at some point.
I lived through it and I got hurt a lot,
Mhm.
but I don't mind it. My principles are my soul elements. I still do it. Still struggling with the rest of the social structure that just you can. And now is I can see it even more. Is like going like everybody knows everything and has an opinion about it. It's like I can't. I do not want to interfere anymore. I mean, everybody's a Jesus right now or something like that. I'm not gonna interfere with that because, you know better. It's your opinion, it's your point of view, and we do not want to interfere with that point of view. It's a unique perspective of life from every single individual on this earth. It's their point of view. So we don't want to interfere with that. We
No.
just wanted to give you some tools to add to that point of view. Maybe you're looking left or right,
If it
and
resonates.
yeah, so you can you don't just blind horses.
Have blinders on.
You have blinders on. You just can look a little bit left and right and understand that you can be honest even though you feel vulnerable, and
Yeah.
you have a greater consequences, good consequences later on, even though the immediate consequence is going to be harsh because you're honest. But we're
It's
going
like
to
the
talk about it because
it's like
honesty has a lot to do in a long run with your highest point of ego, which is honor, which is the nucleus of honor is reputation. So that's where everybody's trying to get as a reputation and that's the nucleus of honor.
I don't know. Some people have forgotten about that, I think.
But the honesty is connected to that reputation.
Yeah.
But you have to have the boundary and principles to defend that honesty in the first place. You have to know yourself.
Yeah.
So in order to know yourself, you have to have that boundary, that assertiveness about you, that if you're honest and vulnerable, you not damage your reputation. You know that for a fact because you know yourself.
Right.
And reputation is what gives you respect, trust, appreciation, and ultimately the universal currency, admiration. That's what reputation gives you. Let's take a superstar in National Football League. I'm not going to name names, but a quarterback in football. He's in a zone. He's got a reputation, and what his currency is, why he's making so much money compared to anybody else, because he's admired all over the world, considering that
Yeah.
United States, they call it the
The Hollywood stars are getting admired for their.
world. For the arty, we don't care about their opinions. Just do your movie. But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, no.
No.
Hmm. So
I think that is about what where we can stop for today and pick up
I just
next.
want to, encapsulate everything
Sure, go for it.
and do it one more time pretty quick. So is this place Akasha, a silver whitish blue place that has seven cosmoses? Is like the cemetery for the old thoughts, pure thoughts. We call it joy. The one thought joy goes into the cosmos through friction and pressure creates a membrane, a permeable membrane, and then it goes further into the universe, which in the, the one cosmos, there are nine universes, it gets into one of the universes. And in this universe, they start creating this soul by acquiring honesty first, which is generating acceptance, patience second, which is generating tolerance. Then it takes on a greater things, a guide, because he needs a guide to not go to the universe blinded. So he needs a guide, and he takes a satellite, uh, which we call it free will, higher spirit, higher self. However, not the spirit, but a
Higher
higher
self.
self. However, then he picks up the rest of the elements, which is awareness that generates ethics and consideration, generosity that generates altruism, uh, consciousness that generates life, but it needs that spark of it needs the spark of breath. Then he picks up. So until he gets that spark of breath, consciousness is just dormant. He has everything he needs, the nuclear plant to create that energy of life, but he's dormant until he gets that breath. And he still the soul goes through and still picking up humbleness, which generates humility, forgiveness, which generates sympathy, and compassion. Most of the most of the people, I think, they have all kinds of compassion. Some people they have for sure lots of compassion. They're clairvoyance. They can see through compassion, or they can feel lots of things. But most of the population on Earth, they have compassion, which generates empathy, and that's the first episode. I hope you guys having questions.
I mean, yeah, this is our kickoff, so I'm hoping that we have more people interested to interact and ask questions and make comments. But thank you, Christina, for
You're very welcome.
Assist you guys.
asking your own questions.
No, that was awesome.
And
You're
that's
awesome.
yes.
I even got some epiphanies, so thank you. I appreciate. I love
Epiphany.
you guys. Like when I understand it, because I was ready now. I was ready.
Yeah, there's
Yay!
So it's like, oh, ding, 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 ding. It does start
and,
with the DNA.
and to
God,
better understand it, Christina, what how goes everything is like the Russian dolls. You know, one goes inside the other. The,
Yes. You can't put the
our,
bigger one, the littler one in the bigger one. If the bigger one, it won't
that's
fit.
exactly what it is. Is the our solar system is within our galaxy. Our galaxy travels through the is within the universe. Universe is in a cosmos. Cosmos is like a little cemetery in the Akasha. Akasha is no records. It has lots of gazillions of thoughts,
Joyful souls.
joyful, pure thought souls. Um, Nobody's been there, even the celestials, the light civilization, or the free will civilization, or the sound civilization, the older civilizations on our universe. Nobody's been the Akasha yet, as far as I know. So, but they know of from information from whatever, however they know, I don't know, but they know of Akasha, and they do not know what's beyond. They Nobody could see beyond these huge, immense, obviously places. Is bigger than the cosmos, bigger than the universe, obviously, and he has lots of thoughts with joy in it. They might have information, but every single thought in Akasha carries one information, does not carry more. Once they go through the process, through the friction and pressure, they might acquire other information, might acquire two or three informations to get inside. Is like a mother, a pregnant woman with twins or triplets. But most of the thoughts that comes from Akasha, it carries one information. And as my understanding, I'm not sure about it, is no similar information from all these gazillion of Akasha thoughts. Every thought has a little different information,
Unique.
unique information. Inside is a lot. Is like a inside the womb. How you call that liquid inside the womb of
Amniotic fluid.
amniotic fluid? That's joy inside the thought. That's the joy formation. We're just imitating what is already there.
As
It's
above,
not.
so below, right?
Yes, he's
And
not.
on and
He's
on and
nothing
on.
new. So
Yeah.
we just imitate it. But they don't work with time and space. They work with serendipity and synchronicity in this place. So luck and space is because of those two, serendipity and synchronicity. Synchronicity has a lot to do with space, and serendipity has a lot to do with luck. So put those three together: luck, joy, and inner space. I mean, what we call it here: bliss, happiness, nirvana.
Yeah.
That's Yeah, that's what we call it here. So that's to recap. Wherever I just put it together, is the solar system within the galaxy, within the universe within the cosmos into Akasha.
Got
So
it.
they might call it Akasha Records because he has lots of
Information. But
little infos, lots of thoughts.
I don't
But
know. The Akashic, I've been to the Akashic records multiple times and it doesn't look anything like. So I don't know if it's like a little library off in the distance or what. Like, it doesn't look anything like what you described. I mean, this
I
thing
laugh.
is massive. Massive. I've been in this thing, like I said, multiple times. It's massive, but it looks nothing like what you described. So, like I said, I don't know if it's in like in a corner off in the like far northeast. I don't know, but
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
or
not really.
maybe it's
Maybe
um
it's a library that
yeah,
is
that I feel
enough
like that's what it
branch
is. It's
of.
a library, but it's not like you're not actually in the Akasha. It's just like a branch off, like a sister company or something, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
It makes perfect sense, but I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't either.
Akashic
I haven't.
record.
I'll probably go down that rabbit hole though. I like it.
I don't know about the Akashic record. Nobody celestial would that I have communications with. nobody was telling me about Akashic records. They told me about Akasha is because is actually the main word that they're calling Akasa. Like is casa is the
Home.
home of everything. It's not the creation of everything. It's the home of everything.
Right.
That's why they call it Akasha. Is
Got it.
Seems
is
like a
is
great way to end.
where their yeah is where their home is. It's called Akasha. And
Gotcha.
the source of creation is their this gazillion of pure thoughts with that pick up all kinds of stuff and they choose to stay. It's like this illuminated source, but they choose to stay there. They don't want to come back into the universe to create bodies or to create anything else, uh, elements or create anything else. They just choose to stay into the source and and coordinate the whole movement of the entire universe. Universe is is moving. The galaxies moving through the universe. So it's moving.
It's a lot of flow.
A lot.
Yeah, it's not
A lot of
expanding.
flow.
It's not expanding and it's not static. It's moving. And we are right now going right through it and we're going right back to the source to end the cycle of 300 32 .8 billion years,
Earth.
the
Earth
Earth
years.
years that the cycle of this galaxy goes through. It's 16.4 billion years, half of it, and 16.4 billions the other half. So we're in the second half right now. We're going through the cycle to go right back to the source.
Interesting.
I find some images of those kind of things, but I like it. Like, but they're not. They're probably is like patented or something. We can't post it. I don't think
I
that.
don't know. We'll figure it out.
That guy Adrian, he's got great
Yeah, we
paintings
don't
on
want to
this.
have any
We don't want to have any.
copyright infringements.
Yeah.
That would not be good. Um, so next week we are going to go over the second layer of our souls, which comes from our earthly father. So it's more of a genetically made stuff. But those are just as important.
We're gonna talk about love.
Love, yes, and fairness and gender and all those fun things. So
Yeah.
we'll dive into those next week. Thank you so much, Christina, for being here with us and doing this
Thanks
with
for
us.
letting me. Thanks for
Yeah.
No,
teaching me. I
you're
appreciate
very
it.
graceful. You are very graceful, and I appreciate that. I can feel you. I can feel your enthusiasm and grace.
And
That's
her excitement when
I,
she's like, I have an aha moment.
I really like that, Christina. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it brings a whole nother.
Level.
Yeah, yeah. You just brought
It's
a
a good
whole.
vibration.
Yeah,
I try.
it's a
I do
great.
my best. I'm usually really good with the questions, but at the beginning, I was just like, you said something, and I was like, not the time, Christina. Just listen. And then I was listening, and I was like, no, I'm just listening. And then, yeah, and then you hit a sweet spot for me, and I was like, oh, and then that's when the questions started coming. So
Yeah,
it
I would
happens.
love to answer any questions that anybody would pose. Um, if I don't know, I just don't know. I wasn't told about it, and this is not coming from me. So anything that I can remember or know or I can help, I'm gonna answer to everybody, regardless of anything. It's just
If
all
we
I want.
know, if we know, we know. If we don't know, we don't know. So that's
Yeah,
part of that honesty part, right?
yeah.
Oh
All I want is admiration. Look at me.
my gosh. Where's your humility?
Yeah, this is coming with humility, admiration. Okay, guys.
Well, thank you guys so much, everyone that did join, and anyone that wants to leave any questions or comments for us for next week. We'll definitely address those then, and then be sure to join us next week and bring a friend if you enjoyed this particular rendezvous here. But anyway, thank you so much, Christina. Thank you, Ion, for all of your
Thank you,
insights.
girls. You're so beautiful.
Thank
You're
you.
lovely. And I love this energy. You know, it's awesome, man. It's just two beautiful girls around me. Come on. Even to the long distance, but still, that's awesome. Yes.
So thank you. Have a great night, and we will see you all next week.
See you next
Bye.
week. Bye.
Bye.